Hi, this is Paul Sanneman with Contractor Staffing Source. I own a contractor staffing business. I've been doing it for a while. I've been a coach for like 40 years. And I have as my guest on the show today, Dave Sullivan. I'm excited about Dave. I'm a little intimidated with Dave. Dave has his own podcast, so he's probably way better than mine, but what the heck? I'm going to give it a shot. So I'm going to accept any criticism from Dave on this podcast because he's been it way longer than I have and way better than me. So Dave, tell him a little about yourself, and thanks for coming today.
Thanks for having me on, Paul. I don't know about that. You're a seasoned pro here, so you're doing great. What I am is a roofer coach, and I coach roofing contractors, help them with their businesses. I was a roofing contractor in California. I did commercial roofing for 30 years, and so picked up a few.
This is when I say, Dave, you really don't look that old.
Well, I've been told I got a face for radio, so that's why I do the podcast.
Sounds good.
But I've learned a few things along the way. I started off in a small family roofing business, and my father really was chained to the business, and he could never get away. He always talked about retiring and doing all of these things. And so I grew up in that. I went to college, went to business school, came back, realized I really didn't know anything about running a business. It's totally different from what you learn in school. So I struggled along, and at that time, he had a heart attack, and I was thrown in the mix and had to take over the business. And as I say, I didn't know what I was doing, and had a hard time getting the respect from the men that we had, the roofers that were there, understanding customers and this and that, and it was a real struggle. So first 4 or 5 years.
One question, Dave, what was the hardest part when you were thrown into the business? What was the most difficult thing that you almost didn't do that probably would have sunk the business?
Well, I was pretty close to sinking the business because you're wearing all the hats. I was making all the mistakes that smaller contractors do when they're starting off. And, the sales were fine. I could sell, but getting the work done, really tough. The numbers I did, even though I went to business school, I really didn't understand the numbers of a construction business because, as you know, construction accounting is different than regular accounting. So I really struggled until I hired a business coach, and that changed everything, changed my life.
Who was your business coach? Just curious.
Rick Duttmer, FMI out of Denver at that time.
Okay. So what advice did the coach give you that turns things around?
Well, the first thing he did was ask me, what business are you in? I go, well, I do roofing. He says, well, what type of roofing? And we really broke it down. I did residential, I did commercial. We'd do anything, dog houses, anything that we could sell. And we broke that out and realized that residential roofing, we were losing money. Our focus, our money was made in the commercial end, and I had no idea. So we just weren't good at doing commercial. Not that one's better than the other, but we just weren't set up that way. And so we just shut that down and focused on the commercial. And once we did that, our margins went up. My time was spent on the right things where we make money. And that was the first step. And then really understanding who our ideal customer was, focusing on that. And as you know, that's what changes everything. We're really dialed in.
Some advice. How do you find out who your ideal customer is to our audience here? And how do you find out your margin? So you're making money, not losing money. How did you pull that off?
Well, the first thing is we break it out, and we did have job costing at that time, which so many contractors don't. But we were able to tell which jobs, as far as gross margin, were profitable and which weren't. But the overhead, there's so much more overhead associated with residential work. So once we broke all that out, we could see that we were losing money. And it was just tough for us. So that's the first thing, is breaking these.
So now, Dave, you probably get to roofing clients. I'm your client. I do this analysis and I go, oh my God, I'm losing money. But I'm going to say, if I charge more, nobody's going to buy my stuff. How do I charge more and keep selling stuff?
You sell to the right people that are interested in your product. So when we focus on who is that ideal customer, just take that one customer that is the perfect customer for you. The ones that, don't gripe about the price, that understand value and the services that you provide. They pay their bills, on and on. So we focus on that. We get that one customer that we wish we had 100, just like we get 100 of those customers. Life would be easy, right? So we got to go out and find
I
them.
tell my clients same kind of thing. Said, if you want to marry a rich man, you got to, date rich men. If you want to marry rich women, you got to date rich women, right? So, you hang out at the country club, you don't hang out at the laundromat, right?
Pretty much. Yeah, that's really what it is. And so if you spend your time in front of buyers, as opposed to tire kickers, as you know, so many contractors, they get a lead, they drop everything, they run out and find out that it's in the wrong neighborhood. They're actually looking for a swimming pool, not just services that you provide. And they waste their time doing that. That's why contractors.
So now give me some specifics. I'm a roofing contractor. How do I find that ideal client? Let's say, you know this. So as a roofing contractor, residential roofing contractor, what's your ideal client? How do you find them?
Well, first, what is the area that you're going to work in? We have to determine that. What type of work are we going to do? We're going to do re-roofing. We're going to do general contractors. Focus down on that. So the most profitable area is to find where are the people that can afford your service. And those tend to be upper income areas, generally both husband and wife both working. And you can get all that information. So we dial that down, get our demographic correct. So that's the starting point. Then we have to have a differentiation between our competition. What makes us different and what makes us better? And how are we going to be able to sell at a higher price? Because as we know, the reason contractors go out of business, they do not charge enough money.
Okay, so let's say the question is, do you find it better to go be a roofing contractor for general contractors and be a sub, or, canvass neighborhoods and knock on doors of people that need to replace their roofs in big, rich houses? Or do you do both?
Well, first off, my opinion, strong opinion is you do not want to work for any general contractors, because you are looking at a bidding situation for the most part. You have difficulty getting paid, or get sued, all of the things that we don't want to do. Cyclical business. We don't want to go into new construction now as this market is definitely turning. So we've got to go find the people that can afford our services, that are interested in keeping their home up, improving their homes, have the money to do that and the interest. And our job is to show them how we're different, we're better. We're not going down to Home Depot and picking our laborers up on the way up to the job. We have trained roofers. And let me tell you why it's so important to have trained roofers. And we go into all that. We can show how we're different and better. And that's our
So now that obviously somebody falls off a roof and they're not insured, you're screwed if you're, have a big house and have a lot of money. So question would be, how do you find those people? I mean, a good idea. Okay, I need to, date rich women or whatever I need to do to find a rich wife. But how do I find them? I mean, how do I find these residential people that want to change their roofs, that can afford what I do?
Are we talking about the customer or the applicators?
I'm talking about the customer.
Customer. Okay. So, we can find out the demographics easy enough, because we have all that information on what are the income of certain areas are. Maybe they're gated communities. Maybe they're.
I love gated. How do I get into a gated community? My survey says, okay, ABC and Hollywood Hills is where I need to go. All rich people. The houses are really old. The roofs are falling apart. They had a horrible hailstorm. Everything's perfect, but I can't get through the front gate. Right? What do you do?
Well, first we have to brand our company right, so people begin to understand that this is what we do. We are the roofers of choice. We're the ones that are different, in business for a long time, whatever it is. So that's the first thing, is branding. We've got our trucks wrapped. We've got job signs. We've got professional looking roofers wearing uniforms. So that's number one. Number two is through SEO. First off, is you've got to build a great website, and you've got to promote that through
for
SEO.
people that search, the SEO search engine optimization,
Right.
which means people can find you when they're looking for you because of your backlinks. There's a whole science to that, which you probably should outsource to get it done.
Definitely. But it's important because you've got people that are searching for what you have. So you've got to put yourself in a position where they find you. And that's the same thing with the demographics, with the income. We can dial this in to get the right kind of people. And so that's number one. Number two, we do a lot of postcard mailing. So this is an area because you cannot get into these gated communities and go knock on doors. What we really want to do is get the low-hanging fruit, which is when we're working in a neighborhood, our job is to get at least one more job in that neighborhood. And the way that we do that is, one, again, building that brand. We've got a great job site set up, so when people come by and see our work, they know that we're professionals. Now, we are sending postcards out to that neighborhood, and we'll send a series of 5 postcards. Hey, we're in your neighborhood. We're doing a job here. Hey, we're in your neighborhood. We're just completing our job. Come on by and see us. And you're reminding me through repetition. Okay. And it's all of those things that in that neighborhood, you've already determined this is your ideal customer where they hang out. So we've already got that area. So how do we dominate that neighborhood?
Right, because obviously they're old houses, old big houses with bad roofs. Mm-hmm. And if one needs a roof, they all need a roof. And so they've got the money, they've got the house, and they need it because their house is 30 years old or whatever it is, right?
Exactly. And this is like a referral. So if we're working in your neighborhood and they're going to check with the neighbor, hey, how'd you like these guys? That's a referral. And we all know that referral business is our best business. So that's really, as we say, the low-hanging fruit. Focus on that first. So every one of those jobs. Now, the gated communities or various areas, let's say we want to hit a certain area. There's 100 homes in this area and they're all the same age or what have you. We are going to saturate that market, that neighborhood through direct mail, through door hangers, all types of ways that we can do that.
I'd like to bounce an idea off you, Dave. I heard another podcast earlier. One of the guys that was a coach, he said what he does is, since he's got a dump truck in the area, he goes around to the neighbors and says, look, did you have any garbage? I'd be happy to haul it off for you, that kind of thing. That to me was a great idea, right? Because you're immediately a hero, right? And you got a truck there anyway. So
yeah, unless you're getting out of your lane, now are we haulers or are we roofers?
Right, well, I guess that's true. But if you help, a couple cans of paint, whatever you want to do. But I do think that you saturate the neighborhood, so you become the guy in that neighborhood, right?
That's right.
And it's a gift. Okay.
There's all types of ways to do that.
What about roofers? Are not the easiest guys to control, right? I mean, as a group of people, let's face it, they're not easy to manage. Would you say that's fair as a group?
It's very difficult. Very difficult.
So as you work with all these roofing companies, how do you help the owners manage, it's like herding cats, manage these roofers so they show up on time, they do a good job, they don't fall off the roof, they wear the safety equipment, all the stuff they should do, but you got the guy who goes, hey, look, I've never fallen off a roof. I've been on a roof for 10 years. I don't need the damn ropes. I'm good. So how do you deal with those how do you help them deal with those kind of situations?
Well, the first step is to hire the right people. And that's not easy, but they're out there and you have to go find them. Or better yet, have them find you. Because if you've built a great brand and you've got a lot of reviews and you've got a great workforce that you're starting with, you could build upon that. They all know each other. So when they're down at the bar or at church and they're all, you got the guy's buddies complaining about how, these guys just, disrespect me. They don't appreciate my work. And you've got one of your guys sitting there with them going, our business is great. You should come down and check us out because they're professional. They really know what they're doing and they take care of people. And that's really what it is. If you take care of your people and treat them with respect, you're providing a much better environment than your competitor. I mean, it's a
so how do you be specific, Dave? How do you treat them with respect? What does that look like? I mean, obviously, if a guy's wearing your logoed shirt to his, whatever poker game on Friday night or to the bar when he hangs out with his buddies on Friday afternoon, that's going to help you, right? So how do you build that culture? I mean, I've heard a lot of contractors say, what do I do? What do I do to build that camaraderie, that loyalty, the kind of things that people really want, to build a team, not just a bunch of people that are getting paid for showing up?
Well, the word that you mentioned is first having a good culture. And that comes from the top. And that's got to be clear. What kind of culture do you have in your business? Are you talking about just getting a job done and getting out of here? We don't care about our customer, or customer is everything and customer satisfaction. We're providing the best customer experience that we can. And let me explain to you guys, this is how it works. This is what a good customer experience looks like. And it's a training program. It doesn't happen overnight. We've got incentives. We've got, programs that just reinforce this idea of doing great work. And we've got tools that we use to ensure that.
Tell me some of the tools. Give me some of the training ideas, the tools. How do you make sure they don't kick the dog, step on the flowers, or disrespect the wife? If you know what I mean?
Right. Well, first off, as I say, it's training. It's not easy. It takes time, and most contractors aren't willing to pay the time. Let me show you what this experience looks like. Now, one of the tools that we use, which really changed a lot in our business, was we were having callbacks. We had problems. Let's say we're leaving nails on the lawn. We'd have a piece of bent metal, so we'd have to come back. Customer would be complaining.
At least there's not beer cans on the roof, right?
Well, let's hope not. We're pretty strict about everything. No radios. We're looking as a professional operation, but we kept having these same problems, and this is what happens with most contractors. We could name 10 issues that happen over and over again. So we came up with this program called the Perfect 10, and those 10 items we would take, and you've got to have those perfect. Let's say the nails. If there's a nail on there, it's not perfect. If you get a perfect 10, everybody on that crew gets a bonus. So one is that you're driving home that idea of how important quality is. They're paying attention to that. They're continuing having that reinforced, learning that. And that's just one tool. And what we did, we reduced our callbacks by 80%. So not only did we save a lot of money, we gave the customer a better customer experience. Our reviews went up. We didn't have those 2-star, 1-star reviews that said, yeah, we put on this new roof and it leaked, because that happens a lot. So when we're selling a job, we want our prospects to look at other reviews, look at what happens in the situation of those 1-star reviews. Most homeowners think a roof's a roof. They don't understand the difference in what really goes into it. That's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. And all you do is just look at those reviews. Here are our reviews. We've got 350 reviews, 5-star reviews. Look at our competition. And you just go through Google reviews. You tell me how we stack up and how important that experience is. So if they trash your home, they let the dog out, whatever it is, they're not paying attention. Isn't that worth a little more money to have peace of mind, to have the job done right?
Well, I used to tell people, the thing is, a lot of these guys that are, I'm going to call illegitimate contracts, for lack of a better term, they don't have workman's comp, they don't have insurance. If somebody falls off the roof, everybody's screwed. So that could be huge. I mean, it could be $1 million lawsuit. Let's get more practical. Let's say I've got a guy that likes to play loud radio. He thinks he works better with the radio on than the radio off. How do you coach your client? I'm your client now. I'm saying, look at Juan loves his radio and Fred likes it too. And they say it helps him work better. They're no big deal. I guess they could wear earphones, but that's not really too cool if you're working. So how do you not disrespect their will or desire to have the radio on or wear a headset and get them to work harder?
Well, it's non-negotiable. We don't have radios because it looks low rent. We're not presenting the type of experience we want to give our customers. So it's just not a question. Here's how we do our work. This is how we work. And this is explained to them when they're hired. This is all laid out. This is the way that we do things. And this is why. And we've got a career path set for you. It's not just a job where you're going to work summers or this or that. We want you in this business in the long term. We want to make a place for you. But if you're hiring the wrong people and they say, I don't care what you say, I'm gonna play the radio, you got the wrong guy.
Okay, now what about, let's go to uniforms, okay? A lot of guys, do you think if you're a roofer, obviously you're going to trash whatever you're wearing? I mean, it's obvious. So do you think uniforms are good? Should they wear them? Should they not wear them? Should it be shirts? Should it be overalls? How do you do with dress codes, boots, what do you call them? Steel-toed shoes, that kind of stuff. How do you deal with all that stuff for one of your clients?
Well, steel-toed shoes are different. That's a safety issue. That's just, again, a non-negotiable. But as far as a uniform, are you going to provide uniforms for them? Have a service where they turn them in? That's what we did, because we figured that, and I think correctly, that it presents just such a better image. So when somebody's driving down the street, they see your crew out there, as opposed to these guys just wearing a bunch of T-shirts and so forth. That looks like you picked them up at Home Depot on the way to the job. No, we have trained people that are part of our team. And you can do it all types of ways, but if you feel that that's value to your business, that's a point of sale, that we provided them, and we just had we had the shirts. So you would wear the shirts, and then when they were at the end of the day, they would put them in the laundry basket, and then there was cleaner to pick them up, gave them the new shirts, and that's how we did it. They were thrilled. They didn't have to trash their clothes. So, and it looked like a team. And we gave them hats, same thing. Everybody looked the same. It was just like a baseball team.
Okay. What about like driving their not so hot trucks onto the job site?
Well, on a residential job, you're not going to do that because you can't have all these beaters lined up on the street. So you've got to have a central meeting place where they are getting in company trucks that are wrapped, that look professional, and you're going to the job, because these are jobs generally that take one day. So they're in and out. They're going to the next job. So you're not going to have them show at the job and they get lost on the way. They can't figure out where they're going and so forth for that one job. Now, on commercial work, it's somewhat different, like the type of work that we did. On certain types of jobs, they were allowed to drive to the job because they would last for months. Different things. So it depends, again, what your brand is, what kind of company you want to present, and what's reasonable. I mean, you'll learn when you get frustrated and everybody the guys can't get to the job. Their trucks break down, their cars break down all the time. It's all these little frustrations that we've got to remove.
Okay. So now let's get more specific, Dave. Let's say you're talking to, we got however many people that are contractors listening to this podcast, and you're going to give them some really sound advice here. Let's say I'm going to make it difficult for you. Let's say there's 5 things. These are the 5 things that if they do these 5 things, they will succeed. If they don't, they will probably fail. So could you come up with those 5 sort of out of the top of your head?
Sure. First thing is get a business plan. What are we going to do? And this is all the things that we talk about, the customer. What type of work are we going to be doing? Riches are in the niches. We want to focus down on what we do well and what we're going to be known for, whatever that is. Then again, it's identifying that customer. Then where are they? Where do they hang out? And how are we going to find them? Or better yet, how do they find us, SEO? But we look at business as a three-legged stool. You've got to sell work, you've got to do work, and you've got to keep score. And this stool, these three legs have to be solid and strong. And if one of those legs is weak, the stool falls over as your business. And this is what we tend to see. In that economy that we've had, that we're really, I think, coming out of, didn't take a brain surgeon to sell. I mean, these fish are jumping into the boat. Now, finding qualified labor to do that work, that was the real problem. And you know that most companies are always complaining about this because they didn't recruit. You know, you've always got to be recruiting, always got to be training, you've always got to be retaining. They're out there, but you have to present that culture that's there. So you got to have the crews that can get the work done, because, you know, the sale is the money's made in the sale. Production's job is to protect that profit. And if you're, you know, having slippage on the jobs, you're leaking profits out, same thing, you're not going to make any money. But then we've got the scorekeeping. And this is where most contractors fall down. Most contractors either came up through the sales end or they came up through production. And they really never understood the numbers.
So how does a contractor keep score?
Well, we've got to, first off, we've got to have the scoreboard. You know, how are we doing? We've got to understand, number one, what our costs are, so we know we're pricing the job right. So how do we do that? Well, we have to understand our profit and loss statements, our balance sheet, be able to read the numbers, understand these numbers. We've got to be doing job costing. So when each job that we do, it stands alone. So did we make money? Did we not? We need to know that. What type of work do we make our most profit on? And if we don't know that, you know, you're driving across the country with, you know, duct tape over your gauges. You don't know what's going on. Or the scoreboard, the lights are out. Are you winning or losing? You have no idea. So you're just continuing doing the same thing.
So how often
this is what most contractors do.
So daily, weekly, how often should they know how they're doing? Weekly, monthly, daily? How often should they be able to crack their score?
Well, we set up a dashboard with the important numbers, and that should be tracked daily. You know, that, and once we set that up, once we teach you how to understand those numbers, it's really pretty simple. You know, we're tracking cash. Okay. You know, do we have enough cash to pay our bills? Do we have receivables that are getting out there, getting out of control, that we have to constantly correct? So our cash is one of those KPIs. The profitability of the job. So we're talking about gross margin. How are our gross margins with each of the jobs? And this is how we learn. What went wrong with this job? We do an autopsy after the job. Look at, you know, we're looking at variance. Okay. We bid the job this way, but it actually came out this way. We lost money. What happened? Let's not do that again. We've got to improve. And this is really where the scorekeeping comes in. But if we've got our dashboard set up correctly, this is how you manage your business. I used to spend a lot of time in Maui. And, you know, that was my goal in running the business, was to be able to take time off, remove myself from the day-to-day. But I had what was called my Maui reports. And I would spend half an hour every morning reviewing the reports, the numbers that are important to run your business. And I could look at those. I could see which jobs were making money. And in our case, we're doing jobs, you know, that go, you know, a month or two long. So I could see each week where those jobs were. If we're going over, here's budget to actual, and they report it in. What's the percentage of completion? Where are we on this job? We're managing these jobs as we go. And once we run it, if we run into a problem, it's like, hey, time out. Hey guys, you know, we've used 70% of our labor and we're only 30% of the job. What's going on?
I guess
we have to come up with a better way.
Yeah, you're right. If you can't fix it unless you know what it is, right? I mean,
exactly.
It's like if you're flying an airplane and your instruments aren't right, you're going to die. If you're driving a car and you haven't got your gauges work, or you want to go to some place and GPS doesn't work, you're going to die. So you think in a perfect world, the owner of the business, the guy who's calling the shot, the coach, whatever that guy is of the team, or the quarterback, he should know daily what he's doing so he needs how to call the right plays, right?
And you are the coach. As the business owner, it's just like running a basketball team. You know, it's regular coaching of your people. How do you keep them motivated? Hey, guys, see that mountaintop up there? I'm going to guide you there. Everybody get in line, and this is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to avoid making all these mistakes and getting up there in the most efficient way that we can. And that's coaching, just like the basketball team.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you, Dave. I really appreciate the input. As a coach myself, you gave me a lot of insights I didn't know. So if people want to get a hold of you, Dave, and they're interested in either your coaching, especially if they're roofers and that kind of thing, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, first is check out my podcast, which is called The Roofer Show. Pretty simple, but I've got over 350 episodes. We talk about, it's all about helping the contractor grow their business, make more money. And what I think is so important is happening. That's why we're running a business. So if you check out the Roofer Show, you can get a lot of information there. We bring on guests, just like your show, Paul. And it's just helping those contractors out. And if you want to get more, you want to streamline this, you want to accelerate your business, we do business coaching in a number of ways. We do one-on-one. We've got peer groups of 8 non-competing roofing contractors from around the country doing similar work. And this is what I love doing. And everybody should be in a peer group where you have a chance to build a camaraderie. Realize that, hey, we're all making the same mistakes. We all have the same struggles. How do we make this better? So we've got the mastermind, we've got coaching groups and various things. So you can go to the roofercoach.com, get more information about that. Check it out and get in touch. We got a free call and talk to me.
Well, sounds good.
See if we can help.
Well, thanks. I appreciate your time, Dave. And again, if you're interested, people should give him a call. You always learn something every time you talk to a coach, and find out if it's a good personality fit for you. Well, thanks, Dave. I appreciate being on the show, and maybe I'll be on your show someday.
Definitely. I enjoyed it, Paul. Anytime. I appreciate it.
Bye.